Hi, I'm Sebastian Gomes, host of Salt and Light Television's book show Subject Matters, and here's my take on the Vatican Prophecies, investigating supernatural signs, apparitions, and miracles in the modern age. This is a great book. It is vintage John Thavis. Very clear, very balanced, and gripping journalism. If you loved his New York Times bestseller, The Vatican Diaries, you will absolutely love the Vatican Prophecies as well. John looks at topics that matter to people today. That's very important. Things like the Shroud of Turin. A lot of people interested in that. Is it authentic? Is it not? What is the Church's position? Marian apparitions at Medjugorje. Hugely important contemporary phenomenon. Some 30 million people have visited this town in Bosnia out of devotion, out of faith, out of curiosity. John examines it in detail. Very, very interesting. And all of this leads John to point out the fact that relics, that these questions of the supernatural are now in vogue again today. Fascinating thing in our modern scientific world. The real question of the book, how does the Vatican deal with all this? What is their position? How do they approach somebody who claims to have been visited by Mary, someone who claims to be possessed by a demon? Fascinating. And what we find out is that the Vatican really doesn't like to deal with this. They kind of exercise a cautious ambiguity. And that makes sense. They don't want to be seen to be jumping on board with somebody who's crazy. At the same time, they don't want to undermine very valid faith and piety of a lot of people. So it's kind of a fine line that they have to walk, and it's a fascinating thread that runs through the Vatican Prophecies. What's really interesting is there is no sort of formal verification process at the Vatican for judging these things. Each is dealt with on a case-by-case basis, and that makes it also interesting to kind of navigate these difficult questions. The lingering question of the whole book, can the miraculous exist with the reasonable today? I mentioned we live in this modern scientific era. Can those two things coexist? And John helps us certainly, even if there's not a clear answer to every question, certainly to understand a little bit better the ambiguity behind it all, and that makes it worthwhile. This is an absolute page-turner, enormously enlightening. Be sure to check out The Vatican Prophecies by John Thavis.